The number one most important priority in your training post 40 is to train in a way that allows you to continue training. So it's intelligent to start looking at the areas that commonly give out first and to start making them much harder to break. If your low back goes, it all goes. And that's true whether you're training for strength and performance or you just want to lead a pain-free life. Because who cares how big your bench press is if you are constantly living in pain and your low back doesn't allow you to do the things you love anymore. So in this video, I'm going to show you some of the most crucial exercises for building a strong bulletproof low back. And I'm also going to show you a controversial exercise that a lot of people love, a lot of people hate. We're going to talk about programming and how these might fit into your plan over the course of a week, because I don't just want to show you a bunch of random exercises. I want to show you how to put this together as a system you can use to make your low back much harder to break. Okay, so we're going to start with the exercise variations, then we're going to talk programming. So the first thing we've got to focus on when it comes to building a durable and bulletproof low back is core stability. That ability to lock the core down and create stiffness. And the best way to train this is to do static holds. For the front of the core, by far the best exercise you can be doing is the hollow hold. I shot an entire tutorial video on that one, so I'm not going to show it here. Instead, I'm going to link to it in the description down below. But for the side of the body, for the obliques and for the quadratus lumborum, which are the muscles that run up the side of your low back, we're going to want to hit them with a different exercise, specifically the side plank. It's one of Dr. Stuart McGill's big 3 exercises for back health. And for those who don't know, Dr. McGill is considered the world's leading authority on spinal health. And once you've mastered the side plank, its considerably meaner European cousin, the Copenhagen side plank. So a lot of people look at the side plank and they think it's something that looks like it belongs in some Jane Fonda video, and they need to wear a leotard and do some step aerobics if they're going to be doing things like the side plank. But the truth is, it's actually one of the best core stabilization exercises you could be doing, especially if you're past the age of 40, and that goes double if you're already starting to experience some low back issues. It's also used by strength coaches across many sports to build athletes who are both more powerful and harder to break, which means the side plank definitely deserves a place in your program. Okay, so for the side plank, the first thing we want to focus on is shoulder position. You can see my shoulders kind of jutting forward. I want to pull it back and have that idea of almost pushing the floor away, right? So I'm creating space. From here, we want to make the body as straight as possible, and we're going to lift the hip. And something I want you to pay a special attention to as well is getting this bottom calf as high off the floor as you can. Because I can lift my hip, but if I keep my calf down, I'm really leaving a lot of progress in the table. But once I lift that calf off and I use that cue, all of a sudden I'm really getting into those obliques. So the side plank is an active position, right? I'm not just hanging out here. I want you to think about pushing your hips up towards the ceiling. As far as this arm goes, you could do the I'm a little teapot. You could do the I love metal. You could do the I do yoga. Whatever you want, right? This arm's really not doing anything. Put it where it feels comfortable. Goal for this is to work up to 60 seconds per side. So once you got a 60-second side plank cooking, there really ain't a lot of benefits to just mindlessly adding time. Instead, it's better to move on to a more challenging progression. And in this case, it's going to be the Copenhagen side plank. And in order to do this, you're going to need something to put your leg on. So I'm going to show you 2 progressions of the Copenhagen side plank. The first is the most basic, and most people can do it. The second is a little trickier if you have dodgy knees, but we'll talk about that when we get there, right? So first thing we're going to do is put the top knee on. We want to make sure that once again we're staying strong through this shoulder, pushing the floor away, keeping the space. We're going to lift up, and then we're going to bring this bottom leg and we want to squeeze it together. So I'm doing a 2-way motion here, right? Like I'm making a little sandwich. I'm driving this top knee down and I'm squeezing this bottom knee up and in. I'm trying to really crush the bench, and I'm lifting my hips up at the same time. The first thing you're going to notice when you do this version is it's a lot more glutey, right? You're going to feel a lot more of that side of the glute. That's great. If you feel that, you know you're doing it right. Goal for this, 30 seconds per side. Now, assuming you have no knee issues, this next progression is okay. If you have knee issues, I would suggest giving it a miss, right? Now we're going to go all the way out, and we're going to put the ankle on top. From here, same idea. Lift up, driving the hips up, squeezing the knees together as hard as you can. Once again, whatever feels good with the arms. I like metal, so I'm doing this. And the goal for this, 30 seconds. Hey, real quick. If you're over the age of 40, the healthiest thing you could be doing for yourself is to start a daily mobility practice. And in order to help you do that, I've put together a free 7.5-minute morning mobility routine for you. You can get it by clicking the link in the description down below. It's specifically designed to undo a lot of the harm our modern sedentary lifestyles are causing. So it's going to open up your hips, unlock your spine, free up your shoulders, and leave you feeling a hell of a whole lot better. You can get it by clicking the link in the description down below. So the side plank and the hollow hold are going to take care of developing that stiffness in the front of the body and the side of the body. But it's also crucial that we train that quality directly into the lower back as well. And the best tool in the shed for that is the Romanian deadlift. So I'm going to go over the technique on how to do this, and then I'm going to talk about the appropriate mindset you should bring to your deadlift training. So we're going to start building your deadlift at the foundation, your feet. We want to stay away from putting weight into the ball of the foot and instead bias more towards the weight going in this part of the foot. So moving up, now let's get to the shins. When we're talking deadlifts, specifically the Romanian deadlifts, we want to think about keeping the shins as vertical as possible. If my knees track forward, I've lost the angle that we're looking for. Instead, we want to think about keeping the shins completely vertical, knees above heels. We'll get back to hips in a second, because first I want to talk about the spine itself. We want to think about standing to attention, pulling the shoulders back, and then dropping the shoulders down, right? So shoulders back, shoulders down. When we do this, when we have our shoulders in this particular position, it's actually going to be very hard for our spines to round when we're doing our deadlifts. And what we're looking for here is that ability to create and maintain stiffness. So your shoulder position really matters here. It's often overlooked when people deadlift, but I assure you it is a crucial component of a strong, safe deadlift. So head position, we're okay here, we're okay here. We don't want to go into this kind of looking up position. We want to think about the spine like a hose. We want to keep the hose as straight as possible, minimum kinks, in order to maximize our power and our ability to maintain that stiff locked spine. So now let's get back to what the hips are doing, which is really where all the action is in the deadlift. And all we're going to do is push the hips straight back. And we want to go as low as you can, right, without pain, and we're looking to feel a stretching sensation in the hamstrings and perhaps your glutes. And if you're feeling that, then it's a good indication that you're doing this lift correctly. From here, we're going to stand up, and when we stand up, we're going to go into a standing plank. So we're not being lazy here, right? We're scooping the pelvis under, cinching this space down, getting tight through the abdominals at the top of the position, and then reset and up. So I find the kettlebell to be the best tool to teach this to people with, but once you develop enough strength and capacity, obviously you can move on to things like the barbell, the trap bar, etc. We're going to start with the kettlebell at the top of the deadlift. What we're looking for here is maximum range of motion with clean technique, right? You do not have to put the kettlebell to the floor on every single rep if your range of motion does not allow you to do so. Okay, so we're going to start here, and then we're going to slide the hips back. Usually for most people, depth will be about wrists at knee or upper shin height. And then we're going to drive forward to that standing plank, spend a second here, hinge back, find the stretch, and up. So now let's talk about the mindset you should bring to deadlift training. Deadlifting is one of those exercises where it can be very seductive to want to add weight to the bar every single week. Although they are a fantastic exercise for developing strength throughout the entire backside of your body, I recommend making sure that you have absolute mastery and control of a given load before increasing the amount of weight you are lifting. And this slow, steady approach is key to being able to continue to develop strength whatever age you are, and to do so in a manner where your injury risk is reduced. Once you have your technique dialed, feel free to bump the weight up on your deadlift and to chase some of the bigger goals we're going to talk about later in this video. So the side plank and the RDO are all about teaching you to create stiffness. But the journey doesn't end there. We also need to train the spine through movement. And one of the best exercises you can use to do that is the 45-degree back extension. Now, this is a ubiquitous piece of equipment in most gyms, and it's also quite affordable to get an at-home setup. It's a really good way to specifically strengthen that low back. So, quick demo. We're gonna go here. Now, what we're looking for here is a deep forward bend, right? So this is okay, but this is better. And while we're down here, what we're doing is we're actually decompressing the low back. So this is a nice little stretch. From here, we're gonna come up, drive the hips into the bench, keep the knees locked, come up as high as you can without pain, hold for a beat, squeeze the glutes, drop back down. So that Once you're able to do 15 repetitions, it's time to switch to single leg. I prefer doing single leg versions before loading because you want to iron out any imbalances. Once you've got the single leg squared away, then you can start adding weight because you know both sides are equally strong. Single leg version is exactly the same. The only difference is we're going to take a leg out. So drop down, make that big curl in the spine as much as you can, drive the hips in, come up and squeeze, hold for a beat, and down. One note when you're doing the single leg version, even though one side is definitely more dominant, both sides are actually in play. So make sure you take a break when you're going side to side and alternate which side you start on a set-by-set basis. Okay, so this last exercise is a controversial one. There are some people who are very educated that will say your spine is going to explode if you even look in the direction of this exercise. And there are other equally qualified people who say that exposing your body to loading in these odd angles is actually one of the healthiest things you can do. I'm definitely in the second camp, but I want to stress that's my personal opinion, because the more you can expose your body to these kind of odd angles in the gym, the more you'll be prepared when you find yourself in these positions outside of the gym. So I'm going to show you the lift. It's called a hockey deadlift. I'm certainly not telling you you need to put this into your program. So the first thing to bear in mind is that this has a lot in common with the Romanian deadlift. So you're still going to be keeping the weight in the back half of the foot. You're still going to be keeping the shins vertical. You're still going to be pushing the hips out, and you're still going to be keeping your back as straight as possible, but you're going to see how we're going to violate that in a second. But now you're going to want to have a closer stance here. So we're going to hinge back, just like we've been doing, but now we're going to reach across. From here, we're going to pick the kettlebell up, bring it to center, squeeze the glutes, become the standing plank, and then we're going to put the kettlebell down on the other side. Once again, hinging back, not just rounding forward. Pick it up. This is not an exercise you would do heavy, and it's not an exercise you would look to increase the weight quickly. You would start with a relatively light weight and then slowly over the course of time progress. I would say if you're able to do this clean with a 24 kilogram kettlebell, you are doing just fine. Okay, so now let's talk programming, how you would fit these in over the course of your week. So generally you're going to want to hit low back twice a week. That's enough stimulus to develop strength and muscle without running the risk of overtraining or living with constant soreness. And you don't need to train your low back in its own standalone sessions. These are designed to fit into what you're currently doing in the gym. Day number 1 will be the day that you do side planks and your 45-degree back extensions. For the regular side planks, we're looking at a goal of working up to 60 seconds per side, then move on to the Copenhagen version where your goal would be to do 30 seconds. If you're able to comfortably hold a 30-second Copenhagen side plank for a few sets, your obliques and QL are plenty strong enough. From the back extensions, if we're talking just body weight, your goal should be 15 clean reps. Once you're able to do 15 clean reps, switch to the single leg version where your goal is once again 15 clean reps. Once you have that dialed in, then you can start loading the exercise. And for this, the loading parameters that you would apply to any other strength workout apply with one exception. You do not want to go super heavy on this. This is not an exercise you would go very high weight, very low rep. Instead, you want to operate in that 6 to 12 rep range. And on this one, it's smart to make sure you stay well clear of failure. Second day, that's your deadlift focus day. How you want to cut this up really depends on you and how you like to train. Some people like to go very heavy, lower reps. Some people prefer to use a more moderate weight and higher reps. Personally, I recommend you do a little bit of both. Do 4 to 6 weeks of higher repetition Romanian style deadlifts, and then do 4 to 6 weeks of heavier deadlifts where you're pulling from the floor. That way you'll get a nice mix of hypertrophy, building muscle in the low back, and top end strength development. When it comes to the hockey deadlift, you really have no business putting this into your program until you are comfortably able to deadlift at least your own body weight from the floor. Now with deadlifts, a good goal to get after would be to deadlift between 1.5 times and double your body weight from the floor for 3 to 5 reps. For most people with a solid work ethic and a little bit of patience, that 1.5 to double body weight deadlift is achievable. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video today. I really appreciate it. If you found the information in it useful, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel so much. Thanks again. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next video.